All right. Well, just real quick, Jane and Sharon here with Virtual REI Academy. We're doing the Tuesdays sponsored by that. Today we're going to talk about midterm rentals, and we have a special guest who's going to talk about that a little bit and has a special presentation. So hopefully everybody can jump back on without too much difficulty, because it's going to be a great presentation. We're excited to learn about it. And I guess we're all logging off now, James, and
Yep, and if for some reason you can't get in, just email me at james@passivecashflowforlife, and I'll set you up. So thanks, everybody. We'll see everybody in a couple minutes.
all right, sounds great.
Whatever you want, and then Jane and Sharon, I guess, are going to do your intro. But I guess what do you want to do? Like wait like 2 more minutes or something, Jane and Sharon?
Yeah, we can take questions if anybody has any questions for a couple minutes, so everybody can jump back on.
Yes, I do. Baltimore County versus Baltimore City. Midterm rentals allowed in both?
We have not,
Yeah, we've not delved into either of those.
but you do, I know a lot of cities, you have to be careful with the regulations, but I'm sure Carlin will probably talk about ways around the midterms versus the short term. I know we had a couple strategies, but I'm sure I don't know if you're brushing up on that topic on your presentation.
Well, midterm rentals are considered anything pretty much over 30 days to 3 months. So typically a lot of these regulations that I've seen for short-term rentals are anything that's under 30 days. So yeah, you'd have to check with your, obviously with your town or your city, but that's kind of been why a lot of people are switching from short-term to midterm, or if you are in the short-term game, that's the opportunity to switch over as well, so.
We don't want to steal your thunder on your presentation.
No, you're good.
All right, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So, yeah, we've been doing these Teaching Tuesdays for five or 6 months now. We're with the Virtual REI Academy, and we're presenting these as just kind of adding value and different topics, and just trying to bring everybody together, a little community building and scaling businesses and answering some questions. So we're doing different topics. Tonight's going to be a little special presentation on midterm rentals, and it's a niche. We have an expert on that is Carlin, and we met Carlin in a different group that we're involved with. And initially meeting her and hearing what she did, she's all about marketing, and she does a whole bunch of stuff with marketing and art design. And I thought that's pretty much not all she did, but I thought that was what she did. Then come to find out, she's flipping houses and she has rentals, and just a wealth of information. She does great on marketing. She does great on flipping houses. We partnered with her on a flip, and so we're partners, friends, and can't wait to hear the presentation.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the intro, guys. I'm so happy to be here. So let me, if you give me permission, I'll share my screen, and we can start out with my lovely presentation deck I put together for you guys.
You are good to go.
All right. All right, cool. So yeah, so thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro. My name's Carlin Guarneri. I'm the managing partner of Rev Property Partners. We are a real estate consultancy and investing company based out of Southern Connecticut. And tonight we're going to talk about getting started with midterm rentals for travel nurses. And this presentation is intended to be a primer to give you just an overview and of the strategy. And it's by no means a comprehensive guide. As you know, there's so much and so many working parts to all different strategies. But I did do my best to squeeze in as much content as I could with the time we have. So there's a lot to cover. We'll keep questions to the end. And if you want to pop them into that QA function that Zoom has as well, we can answer them in the order they come in. It's totally up to you guys. See my little shameless plug there. I have it again at the end if you want to follow us on Instagram. All right, so a little about what we'll touch on tonight. We'll touch on what midterm rentals are all about, travel nurses, a little about me, evaluating your property, the design and preparation of your space, determining your pricing, how to market your rental, and then screening and leasing to your tenants. And then we can do a little conclusion and the Q&A. So who am I and why should you even care? So pretty much, I have a little over 16 years background in real estate investing actively. and a handful of other analysis paralysis years before that, if you will. I've been a buy and hold investor, self-managing my own properties of unfurnished long-term rentals. Just anywhere through the acquisition. Actually, I didn't even have an agent. I just had an attorney working with me on my first property, a 3-family. I do the screening, I do the leasing, I do tenancy, turnover, customer service. I just had a tenant texting me about something. And in more recent years, and I'll tell you how I got into that, I've been in the furnished midterm rental game to travel nurses. As Jane had mentioned, I'm also a fix and flip investor. I do project management for that. I've done GCing for that, as well as some hands-on construction and renovation experience. I find, as with anything, that you're going to expect to, divvy out to other folks. You want to kind of know what what the game plan is there a little bit, so you can, make sure nobody's taking you for a ride. And also, as Jane mentioned, my background and my career path has been in marketing and advertising. I've been in an agency world. If you ever watch Mad Men, that was one of my agencies, was like that. It was pretty fun. We had a bar on site. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I've been a creative director, art director, designer for some of the world's largest and most recognizable brands, Unilever, Diageo, Subway restaurants across the gamut. So I do bring a unique skill set to this field, which is great. And that's kind of like our differentiating, factor in our branding as well. All right. So my story of how I got started in midterm rentals was probably about 10 years ago. Had a vacancy during the holidays. And as all of you know, when it's holiday time, it's not moving time. So I had a little bit of a challenge filling a space. And, this recruiter reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in housing our travel nurses?" I was like, "What's that?" And she told me about it. So I was like, "Yeah, sure." She's like, "You could charge more." So I think the rent at the time was like, I don't know, 1,400. And I was like, 17 sounds good. So, which we'll talk about when we get to pricing. You can charge a little bit more than that. But yeah, they put their nurses in there. They furnished it up, and I was owner occupying the property at the time. And what I did hear from them was absolutely nothing. They are some of the quietest tenants. They work really long hours, and they just want a nice place to come home and rest at night. And like I said, they're just quiet and nice and respectful. So that's kind of where it all started for me. And then more recent years, I had a property that was fully furnished that I needed to relocate, and I didn't want to step away from the property, if you will. And I had already been renting, a space in the basement suite area to a travel nurse. So I went ahead and converted pretty much the whole thing to it. And I've been managing that remotely, renting rooms and spaces out to travel nurses, because we have Yale, which is really close by, and it's just been fantastic. And I really like the strategy. While I don't have a ton of these, I do have a lot of experience, just given that I've done this for a handful of years or so, like 5 or 6 years. So all right. Yay. On to the good stuff. Fun graphic. So who are travel nurses? Travel nurses are registered nurses that they fill the gaps in staffing needs for hospitals across the country and facilities. Wherever there's a need and wherever they're going to be placed, they get a chance to travel around the country and also get paid quite a bit more, since they are temporary workers. So in short, really anywhere there's a nursing shortage, hospitals, it can be residential settings, private practices. So while you're looking to see if your property or space you might have even in your own house is a fit, don't rule out if you don't have a hospital right nearby. It could be something else. Midterm rentals, we talked about it a little before we started. They typically last around 3 months, less than a year. And what sets them apart from Airbnb is Airbnbs typically, and this is not the rule, but this is the general, are a few days to a few weeks in rentals. And as you know, there's a lot more regulations coming out restricting some of that. So you do want to check with your local town or city to see what the regulations are. I don't suggest you do anything illegal, but there might be ways that you can, meander around some of the gray areas. Why is this beneficial for everyone? For nurses, it's the flexibility. They get a space that's fully furnished. They get to travel around, like I said, the country. They could see, they've got the convenience and the cost efficiency of just really being able to just pick up a suitcase and be able to go. So far, all of the ones that I've rented to have had their own cars, and we'll talk about later how you can add different a la carte things to your leasing if you would like, for folks who will be flying in. For you, it's a potential for higher rental rates. It's not in the range of completely Airbnbs nightly, but it is definitely fairly close to that. There's a lower tenant screening risk, which we'll talk about. It's pretty consistent. As soon as I have somebody filled in for the 3-month period, I usually list it, and then I'll start getting people coming in and pretty much get them booked up. Some of the times they do extend the current ones, so I do always caveat that they do have first right of refusal, and I try to get to know that as soon as they know, and it's always based on whether they're offered the opportunity to extend their contract. So you just got to have that open line of communication with anything. This industry is all about customer service. Again, the consistent rental income, shorter vacancies because you have them, and they're going to be here, lower turnover costs. So when you're evaluating your space, you want to think about, like we said, your proximity to healthcare facilities, your location. You want to be in, have your property in somewhat of a safe neighborhood, if you will. Size and the layout, see what kind of space that you have that you can, you don't want to squeeze too many people into one space. You can do a bedroom if you want. It's just, as long as your property is suitable for somebody who could be working like hours that are overnight and they want to sleep during the day. So if you're a quiet person or you're not there a lot, you can rent out a bedroom, or you can rent out a whole house, or you can rent out, like an in-law suite, if you will, if it's, something that you're interested in. Parking and safety are very important. They want, they work, long hours. They want a place that's safe and secure. Know that they have a reserved parking space to be able to come back to. And then the furnishing and amenities is kind of the fun part. Just think about it like anything that, like at your own home, what would you want if you were, just going to be living there, which you do, because it's your own home. What kind of things do you use on a daily? So I even encourage you, if you're going to be furnishing, just to observe like what you use throughout the day over and over again throughout the week, and that'll give you kind of a sense. Like I said, what would you want when designing your space? Put yourself in their shoes. If you were to go on a business trip for 3 months, what would you have there? There's things that are important specifically to travel nurses, because that's what this is about, right? Stuff like blackout shades and blackout curtains are very important. Again, safety, comfort, quiet, things like that. So when you're furnishing it up, think about all those things. There's a lot of stuff you don't even think about. And I saw Philip Warwick's on here, and I'm sure that he can speak to when he's first started, when he's furnishing up Airbnbs, he probably got messages left and right. Do you have this? Do you have that? Because like sometimes you don't think about it. So like I said, try to do an inventory as you're doing your own thing. And there's a lot of sites and resources online that you can find lists and stuff. But like a full length mirror, something as silly as that, you can completely overlook. It's important so they can check to make sure they look nice. Different styles of lighting, an overhead light or a lamp or, something different. Fully stocked pantry is important. Having all the spices and, like flour and all that. They do cook a lot, I've noticed. They really enjoy, that's kind of like their time to just kind of wind down and relax. Some of the things, my spaces are near the beach, so I leave, I get beach towels and chairs and stuff like that. Board games and books and cards, stuff like that's nice to have. Ample storage is important. Some of them do travel with just a suitcase, but I've also had somebody who liked to craft, and she had a lot of like Tupperware bins with her, so it was nice to have space for her to keep that and things like that. And obviously the first bullet, which is the most important, I tend to glaze over the big important things sometimes and get to the details, but I mean, it's kind of an obvious, right? Memory foam, beds, comfortable sheets, plenty of linens, and pillow options. And then, you don't want to just necessarily slap together what you have, like, your Aunt Betty's like comforter from 20 years ago and your uncle's couch that he was just getting rid of, and this is like a mishmash of all stuff. You know what I mean? You want to give it a little bit of thought. You can give it a theme. Again, mine are near the water, so I have like a kind of a nautical theme to it and like nice relaxing colors. Again, think about your target market. You can consider bringing in an interior designer to give you some ideas, or even a friend who has a really good eye for stuff like that. And that's kind of with anything too, right? If you're going to be selling a house with your staging, you can, do the same thing. As far as finding deals to get stuff to furnish your place, you don't have to break the bank. You don't need to get everything all at one place. I like to go to like Habitat Restore is great for, I even use this for my renovations too, but it's great to get any, you know, kind of furnishings and stuff like that. Tag sales, Facebook Marketplace is great, although it is a little bit of a, you know, chasing people around sometimes. Goodwill's fantastic. Walmart, Amazon, Target, your typical stores like that have nice designy looking things for a fair price. IKEA, I like to use IKEA for pretty much the decor. They've got a lot of nice affordable decor that gives it a nice modern feel. So other considerations when you're furnishing, like I mentioned, you want some blackout shades or curtains so that if they work a night shift and they're sleeping during the day, you know, it feels like it's nighttime. You can consider some type of sound dampening or soundproofing. In the basement suite that I have, there's a foot traffic area above it, so I made sure to soundproof, put soundproofing in between that, so you know there's no vibration through the floors. Motion lights where they park, lighting all the way up to the doorway is important so they feel safe. And it's also, all these things are things you can market as well, and make your listing just stand out that much more. Wi-Fi, obviously, a Fire Stick or a smart TV. A lot of these folks, I mean, a lot of everybody has their own subscriptions to Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video. I also keep mine logged in here just in case they don't feel like logging in. I have an account for that, so something to think of. And then here's the white glove amenities, which would be nice. You can take this to the next level. Like some people, like I do this is not my primary strategy with midterm rentals. I do love midterm rentals a lot, but there are people who make this their complete business and they have these fantastic systems in place. And I have to a degree, but like with cleaning and housekeeping, you can offer this on a weekly basis or monthly basis, and you can, you know, add this a la carte like menu with the incremental on the rent. You could do food shopping services. You can stock the fridge and pantry for them. Again, weekly, monthly, whatever. You could do a laundry service, like a pick up and drop off. Same with the airport. Like if somebody's going to be flying in, you can offer to some type of service that's part of the rental agreement. And even renting cars via Turo, you can have a car ready for them in the driveway when they get here if they don't have their own, and then they have it through their tenancy. Turo's like an Airbnb for cars. So these are other things that, you know, you can add on to just create more revenue for yourself as well. Okay, so market research and pricing. Furnish Finder is the go-to website for travel nurses and midterm rentals right now, specifically to travel nurses. There are other folks on Furnish Finder who aren't just travel nurses. So as with anything, do your due diligence. There's also some scams I've noticed more over the past year on there. So yeah, you can go into their stats /stats there and put in like your city, your state, your zip code, and it'll kind of show you this little graphic here. It shows how many searches have happened in the past like year, how many listings are available, what the median rent is, you know, some other data in here, which is pretty helpful. You can just like poke around, but it's actually really impressive if I zoom in here. So the overall number of requests in Denver, Colorado for whichever year this was, almost 78,000. 78,000. That's incredible. And there's such a housing midterm rental shortage on this aspect. There's like a lot of you know, folks, they end up having to like rent in a hotel. Like you don't want to be, who wants to be in a hotel for 3 months, you know? It's not home. It's kind of transient, you know? So as you go and you want to determine pricing, I do kind of the similar method, right? There's no magic formula here. It's definitely in between unfurnished rentals and Airbnb. But I'd suggest going on to Furnish Finder in your area and just start clicking around, look around at some of the properties, see if the, you know, comparable ones, see what pricing they have, what amenities they have, what their style looks like, their proximity. Mine's not right downtown near Yale. Mine's a little outside of, so I make my selling point as a quiet neighborhood with beautiful sunsets. You know, we're close to the beach, you know what I mean? So you just, you know, try to market it differently and make your point of difference. But yeah, you can poke around and figure out your pricing from here. Marketing. Again, Furnish Finder, it's kind of your all-in-one hub for everything. So you can go on here and add your listing. You can add multiple listings. It's nice. You can do everything within here. You can screen tenants through here. You can even do leases, and I believe through here. I still do mine on the side, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But yeah, when you go do your listing, you fill out the information here. And like I said, I would suggest getting these professional photography done. I mean, it's only a couple $100, right? It's not that much money, and it'll really make your listing shine. Highlight your space, your amenities, your proximity to, the different hospitals or medical facilities. Check other listings, see what they're saying. You could even leverage AI and ChatGPT to help you refine your language. I've been doing that a lot lately, just blah, 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 brain dump, and then, hey, refine this for me. And then, you're going to have to adjust stuff in there, but it's a nice way to help organize your thoughts, at least. So that is creating your listing and marketing. So back to marketing. You can even, the reason why I use Furnish Finder exclusively is because that's where they're going. That's where they are. You can also reach out on LinkedIn. I should have put a slide for this, to the recruiters for some of these, for some of the travel nurses. There are like national recruiters, and the holy grail of this whole industry is to try to get a relationship with them, so you can get the contract with them for like a specific house, and then they become your primary client and they'll fill it for you. But you can reach out to recruiters, say, hey, I have a space in this market, just wondering if you had anybody available. I'd love to connect, tell you what we do. So that's another way. There's also another one called Citru, I believe. I got some leads from, but I don't love it. It doesn't seem as credible. So I would suggest, if you're just starting out, is to go through Furnish Finder until you're able to get some contracts. All right. So the good news about screening and leasing, which is completely opposite of unfurnished, is that most of the work's already done for you. In order for these folks to get a contract at these facilities, they're already screened. I mean, for the most part, they already have background checks and credit checks done and all this shebang. But just like with anything, you want to trust but verify. So I still do a whole background, criminal, credit, eviction, employment verification. I ask them for their contracts, and then I call their recruiters to go over their contracts. So I'm still doing the same process. So like I said, due diligence, customer service, these are all, buzzwords that from this industry. And then the other good thing about that is, once you call the recruiter to talk to them, to confirm their contract, you also build a relationship with them and say, yeah, I'm just calling to, verify the contract for, Jane XYZ, but also here's a little bit about my business. If you guys ever have any other, or do you have any other travel nurses in the area? So, that's a good way to try to get into that, like I said, the little holy grail of this market, their segment of the market. Screening. Yeah, I use my own application because it has specific questions that are kind of open-ended questions for them to fill out. I don't love a lot of these online ones that just kind of like, put your info in and here's the credit. Doesn't really answer any questions for me. So, what else? I guess it's not like unfurnished rentals, but just if you're already in the rental game, you just kind of do it the same way. Management and customer service. So now you got your tenant and you're leasing them up. You got them in your you're getting ready to put them in the property. You should create a guidebook. If any of you have ever stayed in an Airbnb, you've seen these. They've got the Wi-Fi, they've got the local amenities, and just any information that's really helpful to them. Restaurants, places of worship, move in, move out information, checklists, your contact information, just anything they can reference is really helpful, and it makes you, look very professional as well. And it doesn't need to be something like this is like a magazine, something I ripped off the web. They could just be like even a 2-sheeter. I have a PDF that I send to them, and it's got all the information in there. Oh, one of the other things I forgot to mention, if you do rental spaces for like rooms in spaces, you can get keypad locks, and this way you can change the code every single time. So I usually use the last 4 of their phone number as their 4-digit code, or ask them if they have a unique one as well. Then they know that it's a unique code, so they even feel another layer of safety as far as that goes. So back to the property guidebook. Yeah, these are easy enough to make. You could use Canva. Canva's great. Just pop some information in there, and it just kind of sets you apart. So throughout their tenancy, make sure, just like anything, this is a customer service, people business. Check in from time to time. Usually they have a couple questions in the first few days, and then maybe 1 or 2 throughout, but they're pretty low maintenance overall. See if there's anything they need. I always ask them if there's anything we could have done better. It's tough to see your own place when you're in it, if you will. So, you know, what adjustments can we make? Is there anything that we can add or subtract? I had one gentleman ask me to remove the 8,000 pillows I thought were pretty, but no, they were just in the way. Too many candles and stuff, but and then don't forget to ask for a review and do it while it's fresh. Make sure you get some good reviews in there, because that'll help give you credibility when you're on Furnished Finder and other people are looking for your space. So and with anything, ask for reviews and testimonials. So in summary, midterm rentals, they can be really lucrative and satisfying. You have different tenant challenges, but I really love it because it's less turnover than an Airbnb, where you know, I feel like I have the cleaning people going in a lot, my maintenance people going in a lot, and there's just a less of a vested interest in that. I'm not discrediting it at all. I still do that when sometimes if I have a vacancy here and one of the properties, I'll do Airbnb for whatever amount of time. I just had a thought and it eluded me. What was I gonna say? Anyway, that was a good one too. Well, they're in demand, and there's always the opportunity. So, you know, this is an opportunity for you guys to provide excellent housing for these professionals, because you're also contributing a bit to your own community, right? And your success and the success of the local healthcare facilities and staff. So I will open it up to questions. So hopefully I didn't blow through that too fast. I did try to cover everything and give you enough time for questions and answers.
Carlin, that was excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, very informative. At the end of the day, what would you say is the percentage increase above market rent? Can you rent these midterm rentals
I don't have an exact number. Let's.
roughly?
Wow, they put me on the spot. I'd probably say maybe 75%. I hope I'm not just winging that one. So like if you have a place that you would typically rent for $1,000 a month unfurnished, I would probably throw it up there for $1,750.
Wow.
5%. Well, don't forget you're also paying utilities too. So you're going to run your numbers on that. You're running utilities, you're running turnover. Oh, that's what I was going to say before. The turnover, you know, factor all that in. Like I have I have a cleaning crew who's on standby to come through. And what I do is I keep 2 pairs of linens for each set, each room or each house. And what they do is they come in and they strip all the linens there. They take them with them to wash them, but they bring that other set in and they like set up the beds and stuff there and all the towels. So this way there's no like waiting time in between.
Excellent.
And then I also have my contractor do a walkthrough too. You should have a list of like all the stuff too. The cleaning people can do that, or the contractor, just to kind of when you're doing turnovers. But yeah, that as far as the pricing, like I said, there's kind of no magic formula. You just gotta kind of go and see what's in your market. It's tough to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Aaron. I see you have a question.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Yeah, a couple questions. So I was listening to a podcast on this not too long ago, and they kind of seemed to think it was petering out a little bit with the travel nurses. Like definitely they come down because they're not making like 400 and 500 grand a year like they were. But how do you think, like, I mean, have you seen any kind of thinning of it with the Airbnbs being taken out of some markets and people needing to go to a midterm market? Do you think that's going to start impacting, like, you know, how Airbnbs spread around too much?
Mhm.
So all these people that were making all this money kind of petered out when the pandemic ended and, you know, it wasn't quite as popular. Do you think they're going to start coming and creeping into this market and maybe watering it down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's inevitable. I mean, that's kind of what happened with Airbnb, right? Like it just got oversaturated, and then that kind of forced the Airbnb operators to make sure that their product was more elevated, right? That they've got more of a design, and now it's even to the point where all of the Airbnbs, like, are the most successful ones, are really themed ones, right? They changed their whole algorithm to go after themed Airbnbs for the most part. I think it's a great industry because, hey, it is medical. I mean, it's not going anywhere. That's why you don't have to necessarily do it in your market. You can go to other markets and get those reviews, keep your property like tip top shape, like be customer service oriented and show that and be trustworthy. I do see, you know, just like with anything, it can become oversaturated for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't see too much difference. I did notice a dip after the pandemic as far as the quantity of inquiries. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't able to fill. I had no problem filling the spaces. I mean, I also have like 4 or 5 hospitals right around my properties, pretty big ones too.
So you stay pretty full. What would you say your occupancy rate would be?
Almost 100, almost 100. I put 2 or 3 days in between for turnover. This way, if there's something, you know, it gives the time for the crew to go in, and if there's something that needs to be fixed, and just in case somebody needs like a stay over an extra day or something. So I've had no trouble with that. And I'm trying to think if I mean, I haven't really turned too many people down. I find that some of the newer ones on their first travel nurse thing, they don't, you know, they kind of act like tenants, if you will, a little more rather than professionals. And that's between us guys. But no, I don't see, I mean, if you have a short-term rental, I mean, give it a whirl. Why not, right? It's a 3-month thing and see how it works out. And then if it doesn't, just go back to Airbnb, or if you have a room or something, again, give it a whirl. 3 months. It's not super long.
And well, I've actually got long-term, mostly rentals, but I've been thinking about like buying something, and I really not really interested in doing the Airbnb because of the amount of like daily work kind of that goes into that. So I was wanting something kind of the midterm. And also, do you think you need to be kind of near multiple hospitals, or like is just being near one hospital enough?
I think you'd have to check use that stats tool, furnishfinder.com/stats, and see kind of what's in your market. Because if you have like, you know, I don't know, 1,000, you know, rentals that people are looking, there's only like 100 people to fill them, then, you know, you kind of have your answer. I would look at supply and demand in your market. But again, it's not only hospitals, it could be other things too. And then not only that, but if you did want to just do kind of the midterm rentals and not specifically to travel nurses, there's other options. There's the travel corporate folks, they travel a lot. There's insurance companies, they need to house folks for a certain amount of time while they're doing repairs to their, you know, fire damage or stuff like that. You know, there's other ones. I just specifically focus on the travel nurses for my own personal reasons, and some of you know, and then also because I do like the tenant pool as well. So
Cool. Thanks.
yeah, man, no problem. Don't be shy, guys. I don't have all the answers, but I'd love to help anybody answer any questions and start calling people out. Just kidding.
That was a great presentation, Carlin. Thank you. Do
Welcome.
the hospitals provide the funding for the nurses, or do they give them a stipend or something for their travel?
Yeah, they do. Well, it's a staffing company that coordinates all of that. So they get money that goes towards housing. They get money that goes towards food, their regular salary, and they tend to make quite a substantially bit more than regular staff nurses. So all this stuff's covered. That's why you want to also try to get a contract with the staffing companies, because they already know what the rate's going to be for that, and they already have it allocated. The travel nurses, they want to get their little extra money as much as they can as well, and totally fair to them, right? But it's a game, so you can get a little bit more quite a bit more when you work with staffing agencies.
Have you had any luck with getting a master lease in place with a homeowner and then midterm leasing it? That seems like that would be a good option.
Yeah, people do arbitrage. There's some people who do the arbitrage. I have the properties, so I haven't used someone else's to do that. But I know there are people who do as well. I think offhand, I think Jesse does some of that, Jesse Vasquez, and then Rafa Laja, I think that's how you say it. I can give you their names on a follow-up. He does it for Airbnbs. I believe he does arbitrage. So, you know, I think it's all in the positioning. I think you'd probably have a better chance of selling the travel nurses to these landlords, and just, you know, the benefits, like, hey, you're going to get income from me, and you're going to have tenants in there who are, you know, professionals, and, you know. Right.
You want to tear it up and do a lot of
Yeah.
turnover and fixing up, rehabbing it.
Exactly. I mean, and there's people who do college rentals who they'll go in and tear it up and all that stuff, but that's their tolerance, right? So it depends on what your tolerance is and what, kind of strategy you like. So they're all, they all have their pros and their cons, right?
Absolutely.
How about pets? You allow pets?
A lot of them like to travel with their pets. The reason that I do, yes, I do. In the space where I was sharing space with one of the houses, I did not because my dog is not good with other dogs, and that's the only simple reason. Otherwise, yeah, and you can do your own pet policy or deposits or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, they're traveling temporarily, so a lot of them like to travel with their pets, their cats, their dogs. So
Probably spouses as well, if they work from home.
spouses, kids, yep, they do. And that's why sometimes larger ones, like renting 2 or 3 bedrooms, a lot of people like to travel together too. So that's really nice too. If you have like an apartment, then you just want to give it a shot. Again, just consider like what grade apartment building it's in or what location, because they are, they're working a lot of hours, and so it should probably be like a class B or something like that, maybe. What else? What else?
I think Jean had a question.
Oh, Gene.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to hear him talk because he's got radio voice.
Okay. Yeah, what markets did you say you're in?
I'm in New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So we have Yale University here, which is a teaching, Yale Hospital, which is a teaching hospital as well. So a lot of folks get their, some certifications or some kind of stuff towards their education for going here. And just a little backstory, both my parents had gone through, chemo and all that stuff, and with the travel nurses and the nurses at Yale, and they were really the only ones that seemed to actually care if anybody's had to take care of anybody who's gone through a hospital. Doctors can be a little cold sometimes. The nurses really are the kind of point of contact and stuff. So it's kind of like close to my heart as well as, so it just feels like a win all around. And so I like to be able to provide nice spaces for them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I lost my mom to cancer, so I get it.
I remember.
On that same note, so you do prefer to do, I was gonna ask, but you do prefer to do local versus remote?
You could do remote. I just do local because that's kind of like what I fell into.
Okay.
With remote, you'd have to, with anything like automate it a little bit more. You'd have to have your, cleaning people lined up, your contractors lined up. I would suggest something that maybe doesn't need too much of a value add if you want to get it, stabilized quicker. But that's totally up to you guys. They're all over the country, so they're everywhere. Just go into the stats tool and just do a search.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Philip.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good.
Hey, I'm sorry if this was already covered. I came a little bit late. I feel
No
bad. For some reason, I had the time wrong. But when you're figuring out your pricing, so as far as like how much to offer these midterm rentals for, what's kind of like a go-to that you use?
Yeah, I don't have an exact formula. I kind of go into my market and I poke around at some of the other properties and I see what they're renting for and I see what amenities I have compared to theirs and everything. And then I try to go from there and see how many responses I'm getting. If I don't get a lot of inquiries or people inquiring, then I might want to adjust it a little bit. So that's the whole thing, right? Do you want to have a vacancy for a month and lose that potential income, or do you want to come down $50 or $25? Do you know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Same thing with like unfurnished. So, but typically, so you have to make sure you factor in what your utilities are going to be too. So electric, up here, I'm in the Northeast. It's really cold in the winter and it's hot in the summer. So AC is running, heat's cranking in the winter, you can get a smart thermostat and try to keep it within a range as well and see, but you've got all those things too. So make sure you factor all that in too. I mean, as you know, so Philip does a lot of Airbnb short-term rentals. So
yeah, and I've tried Furnish Finder. Do you have other recommendations for areas that aren't near hospitals, like for the midterm stays, or you just adjust on Airbnb and do like a month-long discount, 30% or something like that?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Philip.
Are you getting all of your bookings from Furnish Finder, or do you also use other platforms?
I tried using other platforms. There's something Citru, and then there's also a couple Facebook pages. that have travel nurses looking for. Furnish Finder's just been the kind of consistent like go-to. It's just become like
Right,
Airbnb or the Verbo, if you will.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you're not using Airbnb at all?
I use it in between when I have like, if I know I'm gonna have like a vacancy, or if like, I want to use that space for, I have somebody coming into town for a couple weeks or whatever, and I'll just not put, not fill it for 3 months or whatever it is, but I kind of use it to fill it in between. So you can do that too.
Right on.
That's
Cool.
why the short term and midterm is nice, because it's flexible like that. The town that I'm in, the city I'm in, they do not on paper allow stays for under 30 days. So that's why I also stick to the midterm.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I've got one right now that's in an HOA, but it's nowhere near a hospital, right? So I'm trying to figure out, hey, how can I get a
Yeah.
midterm? And like what Aaron said a minute ago, the short-term rentals are great. Financially, they make way more money, but it's a very active business. A lot of
Yeah.
cleaning, a lot of turnarounds, a lot of maintenance. It's profitable, it's worth it, but it's a lot more active work for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of your time too, right?
Right. So
If
yeah,
you
so I need to figure out how to get a midterm in that one that's not anywhere near a hospital. So
Well, it could be, it doesn't have to be necessarily a hospital. It could be near other health care facilities. Take a look, put the area code into that furnishfinder.com/stats. I can
okay.
put it out if you want. We can take a look.
And do you do the pay per listing or do you pay per a percentage of the booking?
It's per listing. So it's like, I think it's like $100 a year to list one of the properties or something like that. And if you
Right
have multiple spaces within one property, like if you're renting individual bedrooms out, I think it's a different price, and you can do it for the whole property and then just the spaces.
Okay. So have you done that, multiple rooms in one house?
I have, yeah.
They'll share it.
Yeah, and they're fine. They're doing the same thing. They're there for the same reason. So they're kind of in the same boat. Sometimes I'll say, hey, if you want to have a conversation with the person who's there, you guys chat, make sure I can connect you guys, one of those. So my single family here that I rented the 2 rooms upstairs in the basement, and then I kept a room for myself here, but I wasn't here very much. It was just kind of a place when I was doing business in town, I would stay for a couple days. So I told them that as well. I was like, so that's another thing too. If you want to keep a room for yourself and just rent the other spaces, and they pretty much had the whole space to themselves, So just kind of a roommate situation for 3
Right.
months. I don't think the only issue that's happened was somebody left their clothes in the washing machine or the dryer and the other person couldn't do them. So then I put a calendar down there. I'm like, mark off which days, that
Yeah.
you reserve for yourself, and,
So you'll have a listing per bedroom. You probably
Yeah.
get more like that then, right? A little bit more than doing the whole house in one.
You can do it that way. It's going to be similar to, you're going to have a lot more hands-on work as opposed to just having one lease. There are a lot of people who do travel, like 2 or 3 people looking for 2-3 bedrooms.
Gotcha.
So you might be able to try to do A/B testing and market it both ways. Might be a little more money to list it that way, but just to see and test the market might be worth it,
All right.
So.
All right.
I mean, there's some folks who put it up on Trello and like use Slack and everything, and throw it into the Slack channel. Here's the turnover, have their contractor and their cleaner and their crew and everybody in there, and all hands on deck. So if you find a way to systematize it better, you might be a little more hands off, but you're always going to be answering questions to some degree, which is great because that's where it's customer service, the people's business, as you know.
Right. Absolutely. We've got a team for that, but I need a team to manage the team now.
There you go. Yeah. Philip's a little bigger than my operation, but.
And also kind of just piggybacking on what you were talking about, I don't have any experience in it, but I had someone approach me for one of my long-term rentals that she was going to give me like $200 more than I was asking for rent. And then she would Airbnb out each room. And her goal was to like have a 4-bedroom house, and she would furnish it and rent it out to these individual rooms and make like double the money she was making on just Airbnb-ing it or doing it by herself. That was what she told me. Like I said, I don't have any experience in it, but
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing that. The rental arbitrage. It's a way to get into the game without owning the property. I mean, I think I personally would want to know their track record before letting them in to do that and manage it. That's just me personally. And I'd want to have a very strict lease with them regarding certain things. I don't have much experience in that, but I can find, if you guys are interested in that, I can probably find somebody to refer you to. So my email's right there, and our Instagram too, if you want to shoot me a line or give any follow-up questions or anything. You know, I'm happy to answer for whatever I can. You know,
There's a couple more questions in the chat. One of
I didn't even see 'em.
says,
Sorry.
thanks for the great presentation. Could you please comment on the app you use to vet new tenants?
Okay. So I use MrLandlord.com, and I'm registered with them, and I've been registered with them for like 16 years. So I can run credit and background eviction through that, but they have to come and inspect your property and this and that, make sure you have locking filing cabinets. But Furnish Finder does have its own screening tool within it. I've used it on one of the tenants. It's fine. It's fine. It'll give you the whole credit history and all that stuff, and take care of it all within that automated system. As far as other screening, same thing with any tenant, you want to call and verify their employment. So I verify their contract, and I just, if there's anything that comes up on the rental app, I'll just be like, hey, I noticed this, I'm not going to discredit you, but just tell me, give me a little background on it. And if it's something that's, everybody goes through stuff. It could be a blip, and like, could be a medical thing. It could be a divorce. It could be whatever it is. You know what I mean? So,
Sure.
let's see. Thanks.
Is there a certain credit score you look for?
I try to keep it over 650. But I use the credit report as kind of a holistic, but yeah, I do have specific criteria. Yes. That like I can go back for, to make sure that I'm not violating anything, but I like to look at it as like a whole story. Like I said, it could be something like they got in some kind of medical bills and had missed payments because of that, and then it could be like, I'm getting shining reviews from their past landlords, or something. If you're talking about regular unfurnished. And if you're doing that, call their previous landlord as well, not just the previous one, the two previous.
Smart. They also had another question. How much do you estimate as the initial investment to set up a new place for midterm rentals, like a 2 or 3? Yeah.
Probably like for 2-3 bedroom. That's with kitchen and everything as well. Like kitchen, living room, all that. The 2-3 bedroom house, let's say probably like 6,000, 5,000.
Wow, not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. So I've kind of run the numbers on it. But if you kind of want to if you have more time to spend, and maybe some friends are willing to donate some stuff, not the mishmashy stuff, but like the silverware or maybe plates or, stuff like that, you can probably aggregate it pretty quick. But it's really the biggest investment is going to be your televisions, your, couches, your, beds, mattresses, stuff like that, furniture, bureaus. You can always get stuff and just paint it. If you don't have much of a budget, like I know tons of people who refurbish furniture. You probably see them all over. If you have a little time, it's not that hard. Just make it all look like, consistent. And then when you get some income in, you don't have to go over the top, but if you want to stand out in your marketplace, you want to create some kind of, point of difference, but you can get some income in and then do the upgrades as well if you find you like this strategy.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Any
Thank
other
you, thank you.
questions?
Yeah, does anybody else have anything, comments, questions?
Just real quick, I remember years ago, I spoke to MedStar about renting out my place, and they wanted, they didn't want to do by rooms. They wanted to be like an independent apartment. Are you finding that out with Furnish Finders as well? Is it easier to rent the entire apartment than it is by room?
I think it's easier to rent it by room from my experience. But you're going to want to rent it out by the whole place. That makes sense. You do have people who travel. So I think a 2 or 3 bedroom is probably better, 2 or 3 bedroom together. Just trying to think. I personally think individual rooms will be quicker and keep it rented more consistently.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But with the two or three, and you're also going to maybe get a little bit more. I mean, you could rent the whole place out and give them a little bit of a discount on it. And then See, then once you start doing the one bedroom, the individual bedrooms, you're gonna have staggered leases potentially as well. So if you want to bring it back into having, the whole place, you might have to wait a little bit. So.
Okay.
Give 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Thank you.
Unless you get with the staffing agencies, then it's the whole place and you're good. You're golden. It's just getting those.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think I was probably talking to a staffing agency at the hospital, and they said it had to be a complete separate unit, not by rooms.
Oh yeah, then yeah, that would be good. I mean, that's like ideal, is to have that relationship with them. So then they just keep they keep giving you the people to put in, really. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Mhm.
Roger that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that hard to get a hold of the staffing agency and get them to get on the page with you? We know somebody else that was trying to do that and it's like been 3 or 4 months and they haven't gotten the traction yet.
Yeah, it's challenging. I haven't gotten the traction yet myself either. You just keep hitting them up. How many touch points? Keep reaching out through LinkedIn and other. That's why it's a good gateway. If you have somebody, just talk to their staffing person and then try to build a relationship there. But I guess I'm not the expert on that part, so maybe not take advice because I haven't gotten that nailed down either. Although I can recommend Jesse Vasquez. I'll put his name in here. He's great. And I learned quite a bit from him as well. And he's really the master of this.
So when you come back in a couple months, maybe you'll have that mastered and you can talk about that.
There you go.
I think I just got you to come back in a couple months.
I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Or you can talk about your phenomenal marketing and your creativity.
Sure. Can do that.
You're definitely a wealth of information. So.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, having that background in marketing, advertising, and design just really flows through to everything. I was able to design the presentation and it looks nice, and working on my branding and stuff, but marketing's in everything you do. So.
And your ad too.
Thanks.
That was nice. I like that. So.
Yeah, happy to help. And if anybody needs wants me to look at any other stuff from that perspective, like I am migrating away from advertising and marketing and trying to be 100% real estate. So I'm happy to look at your stuff though. I have that background.
Awesome. That's a beautiful attribute.
All right, guys, anybody have any other questions? On one?
Any comments? Any questions about any other part of real estate?
I'm just
Wait,
gonna
what
say
was
that
that last offer you just made? You're a marketing and you can do what?
I'm happy to take a look at your stuff and give you a kind of a gut, feeling or any direction, advice design wise or marketing content, stuff like that. If you want to share your, whatever, feel free to shoot me a line. Happy to look at it.
All right.
She is very creative.
critique. Thanks,
Always
guys.
looking to optimize, make it better.
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up, Philip. I'd love to be. I'm happy to help. Great.
All right, guys, we're been at it almost an hour. Carlin, we again appreciate you stopping in and doing an awesome presentation. We learned a lot. We'll be on next week. I think we're talking about exit strategies for single family, and look for the ads to go out in emails, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Carlin.
everybody showing up and giving us an hour.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Happy-
Cheryl.
Thank you very much.